With Soleimani's killing, the US has managed to unite Iranians who had hitherto been protesting against their own government. Hailing Soleimani, Iranian Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei said, and I quote here, "The unity that we saw during Qasem Soleimani's funeral is what keeps us protected. Some people wanted to show that revolution in Iran was dead, but Soleimani's martyrdom shows that the revolution is alive." Unquote. Qasem Soleimani was not just a military commander but a revered figure in Iranian society and polity. His assassination, which happened at the time of massive anti-government protests in Iran, managed to unite moderate and conservative factions in the country. So what were these anti-government protests that rocked Iran? Massive demonstrations erupted across the West Asian nation after a hike in fuel prices. Those protests led the government to implement a near-total internet shutdown. This as the demonstrations threatened to bring down the Iranian regime. The government had rolled out a rationing scheme. Subsidies were slashed and prices soared by at least 50%. These measures were introduced when Iran was already grappling with massive inflation. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Khamenei had backed the government. But this is not the complete picture. Iranian economy has been grappling with US sanctions. There was a job crisis even as the economy struggled with inflation. The Iranian currency called rial touched record lows against the US dollar. Fresh sanctions were imposed on Tehran after the US withdrew from the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. Remember, as per that deal, Iran had agreed to limit its nuclear program in exchange for fewer sanctions. And earlier, we spoke to Sayed Mustafa Khoshcheshm, who is the editor-in-chief of Iran's Fars news agency, and here's his perspective. Take a look.
Hello and good morning. Well, Iran has 13 scenarios for confronting the United States. The ultimate goal is pushing the United States out of this region. This was the first phase. This doesn't mean that it will be followed by another missile strike unless the U.S. takes action to reciprocate Tehran's missile attack on Wednesday. But the point here is that Iran targeted Assad because it was used for, launching the drone that targeted General Soleimani. Also, the Ain al-Assad airbase is the main airbase of the United States in Iraq. It supports all U.S. Army missile shields across the country. So the main target was taking down and destroying the radar and as well as the infrastructure at Al-Assad, so that if the U.S. embarks on an act of, reciprocal action, Tehran could take toll. Early reports for us here in Tehran says that 80 U.S. Army soldiers have been killed, over 200 have been wounded. The American officials do not allow the Iraqi Army soldiers to get into the Al-Assad airbase. They are taking out their casualties on choppers. And one more point is that there will be more phases of operations, but in different nature, actually, not through missile attacks. This is not going to be the end. It just heralded Iran's reciprocal moves to ultimately see the U.S. pull out of this region.